You're listening to the N2K Space Network.
And now, a word from our sponsor. The Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute is seeking qualified applicants for its innovative Master of Science in Security Informatics degree program. Study alongside world-class interdisciplinary experts and gain unparalleled educational, research, and professional experience in information security and assurance. Interested U.S. citizens should consider the Department of Defense's Cyber Service Academy program, which covers tuition, textbooks, and a laptop, as well as providing a $34,000 additional annual stipend. Apply for the fall 2026 semester and for this scholarship by February 28th. Learn more at cs.jhu.edu/MSSI.
If you've been listening to T-Minus since we started, then you know that we are big fans of student rocket competitions. We've been at the Spaceport America Cup, which is now known as the International Rocket Engineering Competition, for the last 3 summers. But there are other student launch opportunities around the globe, of course. So for today's show, let's head over to Portugal to find out more about EuRoC, also known as the European Rocketry Challenge. This is T-Minus Deep Space. I'm Maria Varmazes. My guest today is Marta Gonçalves, Science and Education Officer at the Portuguese Space Agency.
My name is Marta Gonçalves. I work at the Portuguese Space Agency, where I am responsible for the education program as a whole. I also follow Portuguese contributions to science missions, namely in ESA, European Space Agency, and also other science organizations related to space. My background, I am an aerospace engineer, but I also always cared a lot about how actually space can be more involved in society. So I do love the engineering part, but I always looked a little bit further other than that. So that's how I ended up in the Portuguese Space Agency and responsible for the education program, in which, EuRoC is a big part of it. Not only European Rocketry Challenge, we do have other initiatives, but yeah, EuRoC is a big flagship program for the Portuguese Space Agency.
Well, thank you, Marta, for joining me today. And indeed, what I wanted to talk to you today about and learn a lot more about was EuRoC. We do love student rocketry competitions on T-Minus a great deal. And I was mentioning to you before we started talking that EuRoC is one that I've been watching for some time with great personal interest. And I think it is beyond time for us to tell our audience more about EuRoC. I know many of our listeners are in Europe, so many of them probably know. But if you wouldn't mind giving me let's start with an introduction to EuRoC and a little bit about its history, what it is and what it's been and where it's going, that kind of a thing.
Okay, perfect. So the European Rocketry Challenge is a competition it is a rocketry competition for university students, for European university students, actually. And it just challenges students to build their own rocket and then gives them an opportunity to come to Portugal and launch their rocket if they can, if everything goes all right. It started back in 2020, so we are now in the 6th edition. And at the time, it was really an opportunity that came to us and that we took. So it was a time of the pandemic, of course. And in the United States, there's a similar competition, Spaceport America Cup. At the time, they canceled the competition, and there was a an European team that really was looking forward to launch their rocket. I think it was the last opportunity they had to do it, because then they would leave university. And they somehow ended up in discussions with the Portuguese Space Agency. And, in a matter of months, we decided to take up this challenge and to organize the competition in about 3 or 4 months. That was a big challenge, because we were still trying to figure out how it would look like. But I think, we just really, challenged ourselves as well. And then what I can see now is that it looked so much different from what it looks now, right? So in the first edition, we had around 100 students. And right now we are looking at 700 students coming to Portugal, a much more professional competition, very well-defined partners that help us make this competition happen, and a much more and well-structured composition and teams, especially in obviously for the evaluation of the rockets and then the operation of the rockets. So teams can apply to launch their rockets up to 3K or 9 kilometers height. So this is their decision fully, and they can choose, how complex their rocket is. So they can choose whether they do a solid propulsion rocket, hybrid, liquid. And of course, if they, they buy a solid motor, or if they do it themselves. And so really it's up to them. In the last few years, we accepted around 25 teams. For this year, we decided to challenge ourselves a bit more. So we decided to select 28 teams this year. Not all 28 reach the competition, because things happen and they have to develop their own rocket. They have to test their own rocket. And sometimes things go not so well in those phases. But I would say that right now we are looking at a bigger number of teams we have ever had, and so hopefully this will be a very exciting competition this year that will happen from the 9th to the 15th of October.
It's a wonderful thing to have so much interest and incredible talent coming through your competition. And to need more teams to join means there must be many more that are trying to get in. It must be record interest every year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what we have noticed. So I think we've had around 60 applications this year. It has been increasing from the last few years, which is also for us a sign of the success of the competition. Also, what we have noticed is that, and we had the opportunity to visit Spaceport America Cup last year, me and the colleague I managed the project with, and we have noticed that European teams are coming more and more to EuRoC. Obviously, also because it's closer. I would say.
I imagine it's easier to not have to ship everything.
It's cheaper,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
and that is all very important when it comes to European to university teams, and especially for Portuguese teams. For us, it's a big success having this year 4 teams preparing to compete in the European Rocketry Challenge, which is a record number of Portuguese teams. In the first year, we had none, actually. And then we started to have one team with, an okay project. It was their first project. And then we started to notice really a big development and a big evolution. And then more teams started to appear. Now we had 4 teams selected, but we know of many more that are trying to compete as well and trying to apply. I think that this is one of our main goals. Obviously, this competition is European, and it's to contribute for the European ecosystem mainly. But we have to recognize that we are in Portugal. We are the Portuguese Space Agency, and we strive for Portuguese students to have these types of opportunities. And so we are so happy to see them have the ambition and challenge themselves to come to build the rocket and to try to launch. But also, this competition is for all. But for them, I think it's especially interesting to come, even sometimes if they don't launch or if they don't participate, but even to come and visit and talk to other students from other countries that have much more experience, or they just do things differently, and try to connect and try to talk and try to learn so they can also evolve their projects and set their ambitions higher.
We'll be right back.
At Thales, they know cybersecurity can be tough and you can't protect everything. But with Thales, you can secure what matters most. With Thales's industry-leading platforms, you can protect critical applications, data, and identities, anywhere and at scale with the highest ROI. That's why the most trusted brands and largest banks, retailers, and healthcare companies in the world rely on Thales to protect what matters most: applications, data, and identity. That's Thales. THALES. Learn more at thalesgroup.com/cyber. What's your 2 a.m. security worry? Is it, do I have the right controls in place? Maybe, are my vendors secure? Or the one that really keeps you up at night, how do I get out from under these old tools and manual processes? That's where Vanta comes in. Vanta automates the manual work so you can stop sweating over spreadsheets, chasing audit evidence, and filling out endless questionnaires. Their trust management platform continuously monitors your systems, centralizes your data, and simplifies your security at scale. And it fits right into your workflows, using AI to streamline evidence collection, flag risks, and keep your program audit ready, all the time. With Vanta, you get everything you need to move faster, scale confidently, and finally, get back to sleep. Get started at vanta.com/cyber. That's VANTA.com/cyber.
Yes, and I was as you're mentioning that, I can imagine these are also their future colleagues and coworkers. I can only begin to imagine, given coming up on the 6th year of the competition, you must have seen now students who've gone on to even higher education and or working in the European space ecosystem now. And maybe people have come back and said, hey, I am now working in that field and I'm back to maybe mentor or just to cheer on, I would imagine.
Absolutely, and that's also what we've seen. We've had some students that go on to their professional lives. They do join actually great companies from the European space ecosystem, and they come back and they say that obviously EuRoC was a great experience. They sometimes try and they say they are open to work with us, which is obviously also a really great experience. They mentor their teams. Usually they go back to their teams, which is, I think it's natural as well. But I do see also the other way around, which is also companies are looking at the competition and recognizing the value in it, and that they can find talent in the participants that want to build a rocket, to challenge themselves, to learn from a bigger project. And so I think it works both ways. So students actually go and look for companies, and this baggage they have, it brings them leverage to work in these companies. But companies also come to the competition and look for students that have that can develop these hard and soft skills from the experience they have there.
Absolutely. Yes, I was noticing on the sponsor list some incredible names on there. So yes, that makes a lot of sense. And especially in this moment of a lot of geopolitical change, there is so much more emphasis on European space sovereignty. And I imagine that is also something that is really driving a lot of participants and sponsors and just general interest in the competition.
Absolutely. I think space now, we talk about space more than ever. It's been like this for some years. I also think, I think the Portuguese Space Agency was created a little bit also on that wave, on the new space wave. And what we try and do, and I think we are lucky to have such young team within the agency, is try and bring, innovative projects and, a fresh thoughts to what we all do.
Yes. And I have to ask, because I'm always curious, if you have any favorite stories from the competitions that you've seen over the years. I imagine it may be hard to choose some favorites, but anything you want to highlight as an anecdote?
I think, usually my favorite stories are of teams that help each other. So I think we call it a competition, but we feel such a cooperative spirit in the competition that it doesn't really feel like teams are competing. And I remember this team, I don't remember the names, but I think this was such a small team. They had like 6 students, so we allow for 30 students to come. Sometimes teams have hundreds of students participating in them, but this team had only like 5 or 6 students. They had big trouble getting just trying to get the rocket up to Portugal and to the paddock. And then they just, time was scarce, and they had troubles. They had trouble to finalize the rocket. And I remember just a team that was much bigger. They had so much experience. I remember all of them in together with the smaller team, just working on their rocket, trying and figure out all the problems. And in the end, this team was able to launch because other colleagues that were competing actually helped them solve all their issues. And for me, I think this is the best spirit. And you can really feel it in the competition, like everyone helps each other. And it's just nice to interact with all of them and just to feel the spirit they bring to both the paddock, the launch site, and just in general.
That is wonderful. I love those kinds of stories. Thank you for sharing that. And as you're mentioning the actual site, I figure I should ask, what is the site like? What the geography of this competition?
Yeah. I think that's a very important question. So we do it in the middle of Portugal, Alto Alentejo, and in the municipality of Constância. This has been a municipality that has opened their arms to receive us. It's a small town, so bringing in 700 people, it's a big increase in population in just a week. So people really have to prepare. But also one of the main characteristics is that in the municipality there is a military camp where they have a shooting range. And if you know about shooting ranges, it's just a big, wide area unoccupied, which brings us to safety measures and the safety concept we have. And this area is perfect for us, right? In the middle of Portugal, we are able to launch rockets with, obviously there's always some type of risk, but with minimal risk, at least as minimal as possible. And we do
Fantastic.
it with the help of the army. So they not only allow us to do it there, that's it's their military camp, but they also help us in operations. So they help us do the recovery of the rockets, especially because they are the ones who know the terrain so well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you telling me about that. So the competition is coming up very, very soon. So for anyone who's interested, obviously this year it's too late, but for next year, for anyone listening who's maybe hasn't heard of it, what does the timeline look like for the upcoming, not the one next week, but afterwards?
Okay. So in terms of the competition, it usually always happens in, let's say, in mid-October, at least on the first fortnight of October. And then leading up to it, we usually open applications around between February and March. There's around a month to apply, so teams are usually prepared to apply as well. We have just an evaluation period. We tell the teams if they were accepted or not. And then when it comes to the middle of the year, there are some reviews that happen. So we try and understand the concept of the projects and try to understand from the get-go if there is any issue that we can identify and that can be mitigated. For us, this is important. And then sometimes there's a second review just to understand how things are going. Finally, around a month before the competition, teams need to deliver their technical reports. And then we meet all the teams in October. They, even in the competition, they have to get their approval in the flight readiness review, which gets them approved to go to the launch site. And then at the launch site, they need to get approved in the launch readiness review, which gets them approved to go to the launch rail. And then we hear the countdown, and if everything goes okay, we see a rocket launch.
that is always such a tense moment.
Yes.
And hopefully all goes well. And so much work leading up to that.
Sometimes we hear 3, 2, 1, and we see nothing launching. But, if they get a second try, things usually go, oh, okay.
Yeah, so much to learn, even from things not going to plan.
Absolutely.
Truly, it's quite amazing the persistence and tenacity of all these student teams with all the work they put into these competitions. It's amazing. Marta, is there anything that you are specifically looking forward to this year? I mean, this is maybe an odd question, but any trends you're seeing over time of what students are attempting that maybe is surprising or delightful or anything like that?
No, absolutely. Yes, we see actually the complexity of the rockets increasing every year, which for us is also a challenge. But it's incredible how the teams are more ambitious in their projects. So I remember in the first few years we had many solid rockets, and now mostly we have hybrid and liquid rockets, which are much more complex, but much more fun when it works. And I think it also connects to the point, which is, obviously, it's a great success to see a rocket launch, but I think for me as well, a big highlight is just seeing the reaction of the teams. The teams are so happy to see, all their hard work and effort for a year, sometimes even more, coming to fruition, right? And there, you see them laugh, you see them cry of happiness, and it just makes it all worth it. We do have a lot of work preparing this competition, but just seeing also how much it means to them and to the work they developed, it makes it worth it. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Marta, I know you have a ton of work right now. So is there anything else that you want to leave the audience with? Anything else you want to say at all?
I would just invite everyone who's interested to visit us. We do have tickets. These are free tickets. You just have to register because it's a military camp, and for safety reasons, we do have, a limited capacity. But I would like to invite everyone to, go to the EuRoC website, to explore the competition, to send us an email, and just to visit us if they can.
That's T-Minus Deep Space, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. We'd love to know what you think of our podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing space industry. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your podcast app. Or you can send an email to space@n2k.com. We're proud that N2K Cyberwire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K helps space and cybersecurity professionals grow, learn, and stay informed. As the nexus for discovery and connection, we bring you the people, the technology, and the ideas shaping the future of secure innovation. Learn how at n2k.com. N2K senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I am your host, Maria Varmazis. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but Mint's premium wireless is $15 a month. But I'd like to offer one other perk. We have no stores. That means no small talk. Crazy weather we're having. No, it's not. It's just weather. It is an introvert's dream. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.